Hello and welcome to Gatecrashers. In human design, Gate 56 is the gate of storytelling, of stimulation, and the wandering search for the next idea. In this Gatecrashers episode, we explore this energy through the character known as the Wanderer. This Gatecrashers series brings human design gates to life through story, through pattern, and through a lived expression. Gate 56 explores the gift of turning experience into story, knowing exactly when to stop and what it looks like when the gift is there and what it costs when it isn't. So if you're studying human design or you're exploring your own chart, this may help you recognize the energy in everyday life. The wanderer came to the village at dusk, the way wanderers do, unhurried, dust on his boots, carrying nothing that couldn't be left behind at short notice. The village was like every village. There was a fire, people around it who'd been working hard and were tired and wanted something they couldn't quite name. The wanderer sat down, accepted the bread that was offered, and looked at the fire for a while. Nobody asked for a story. They never do, not directly, but there is a quality of attention that is itself an invitation, a leaning in, a collective settling. The fire doing what fires have always done, which is what makes people sit long enough to listen. The wanderer began. He spoke about a woman who had walked 3 days to reach a mountain. And she had stood at the foot of the mountain and then turned around and walked back home, having decided that the view from the bottom of the mountain was the one she'd been looking for all along. He said this simply, with no commentary attached, no explanation of what the woman had learned or what the mountain meant or what the listener was supposed to take from the story. The story arrived and the story stopped, clean as a blade. And the silence after it was of a different quality of silence than the one before. Around the fire, several people were very quietly thinking about something that had nothing to do with mountains. That was the gift. Not the story itself, although the story was good, but the precision of it, the exact weight. The wanderer had looked at that particular fire, that particular collection of people with their particular tiredness, their particular unnamed wanting, and had found the story whose shape fit the gap. Not too much, not a syllable beyond the place where it was done. The stop codon, the full stop at the end of the sentence that was always from the first word, the place the final sentence was heading to. This is gate 56 in the throat center, in the collective abstract circuit, with its channel partner gate 11, the gate of ideas in the ajna. Together they form the channel of curiosity, a design of a searcher. And the searcher is born to seek, not to find. The wanderer doesn't ever arrive. The wanderer wanders. The next fire is always the thing, not the last fire. The story once given away belongs to the listeners, and the wanderer is already thinking about somewhere else, not from restlessness, but from a particular hunger of a gate that lives in the movement between experiences rather than in any one of them. The wanderer left before morning. He always did. The leaving is built into the arriving, and everyone around the fire knows it and never makes the story feel like any less. Now, a second traveller came to the same village 3 days later. He also told stories. He had been telling stories by his own account for 30 years or more. And he was extremely knowledgeable on the subject of stories, their history, their structure, their many varieties and regional variations. And he had 14 different techniques by which a skilled practitioner could hold an audience in the palm of their hand. He sat down by the fire. He began, and he told them about a king. And the king had 3 sons, and the youngest son was the cleverest. Actually, he said, it's worth pausing here to note that in the original telling of this character, there is a different description. And there are several versions of this particular story across 4 distinct cultural traditions, the earliest of which dates to whatever it was. And the fire is still burning, and the people are still there. But something has shifted. Some quality of attention had loosened its hold and begun looking elsewhere. And the second traveller was still talking, and was in fact showing no signs of stopping, was moving from the king's youngest son into an extended digression about the symbolism of the number 3 in its early narrative traditions. And the fire crackled, and a child fell asleep against its mother's shoulder. And the second traveller was still going, and the story, if there was still a story in there, if it hadn't been entirely swallowed by the material surrounding it, had long since passed the place where it was done. He had the stories, he genuinely had them, years of them, collected and catalogued and cross-referenced. What he didn't have was the instinct for the full stop, the stop codon, the knowledge, cellular and certain, of the exact word at which the sentence is complete and everything after it is a cost. Without it, the stories went on past themselves. They talked about the thing rather than being the thing. They explained what the mountain meant, instead of letting the mountain stand there, being the mountain. The shadow side of Gate 56 isn't the absence of stories. It's the absence of the stimulation and the absence of the ending. It's everything except the things that make the story a story, rather than just a collection of material in the approximate shape of a story. The second traveller was still talking when the fire went out, and the wanderer by then was 3 villages away, just finishing a story about a man who found a door in a field and didn't open it. And the silence after his story was tremendous and full and exactly the right size. And he stood and he brushed the dust from his coat, a coat that had seen many fires and many villages, and many people sitting in the dark with things they couldn't name. And he moved on. Because there is always another village, another fire, another collection of people leaning in towards something they can't quite name. The wanderer doesn't know what the story will be until he gets there. You can't plan it from the road. You have to arrive and sit and feel the shape of what's needed and trust that the story will come, because it always comes. It has always come. It came 30 years ago at the first fire, and it will still come at the last one. And you tell your story, and you stop, and you leave. That's Gate 56. That's the wanderer. The gift is the story, and the full stop is part of the gift. Thank you for joining me as we explore the energies of Gate 56, the storyteller, the wanderer. Are you looking after yourselves? Are you loving yourselves wildly? I'm sure you are. And until the next story, go gently.